Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome here to Prescott Hill Climb for the second day of this two-day meet organised by the Bugatti Owners Club, as ever. And to all the dads who join us, a very happy Father's Day as well. Say the second day of the meeting, and a number of championships participating in this event. Today we'll be kicking off with the New Barn Interclub Speed Championship contenders. We also got the Paul Matty Lotus Speed Championship, Classic Marks Speed Championship, the 500 with us as well, as is the Sunrise Championship, the Porsche Club Championship, the Historic Sports Association, BARC Connaught, and of course there's a handicap event for the Bugatti Owners Club members as well. So lots of action ahead of us over the next few hours. I'm Peter Hughes. I shall be trying to guide you through the action through the course of the afternoon, and we'll be starting in just a moment with the New Barn contenders, and scheduled on the line first should be car number 20. I can see him queuing up in the paddock at the moment. He'll be coming out on the line shortly, and that's the Mazda MX-5 of Steve Perry, who will join us. We'll be watching the action. I'll be trying to guide you through that, tell you a little bit of information about some of the drivers, and also update you on the standings as times are recorded. 2 runs scheduled for everybody, and the better of the 2 runs for each competitor determining their finishing position. Some of the series running on handicap, and we will try and look at that as well as we come to the relevant classes. We certainly had a good day's competition yesterday here at Prescott, including some classes that were determined by just hundredths of a second. So really couldn't have got a lot closer at all. Weather slightly changed overnight. It's very overcast here at the moment, and the track, although it looks dry at the moment, that could change during the course of the afternoon. We hope the rain holds off, but we will have to wait and see. I can see the Clark, the course's car, making its way back down the hill after checking everything's clear, so we can open the hill up for competition in the next couple of minutes. So that first car is being called up to the line now. And out comes the silver Mazda MX-5 1800cc version of the hugely popular Japanese sports car, driven by Steve Perry. Car number 20 coming onto the start line now. Marshall's there, ready to get him lined up exactly to break the timing beam. And as ever, we have to say a huge thank you to all the volunteer marshals and other officials who make these events possible. So revs rising then on the Mazda. Steve Perry about to get the timed events underway. Everyone's had a practice run this morning, of course. Now it's the serious time of the day as the MX-5 heads off up underneath the bridge and towards Ettores, the first hairpin on this long version of the Prescott Hill. Steve rounding that. Steve was here yesterday competing as well, as were many, in fact, of the competitors who are out today. And he's now on the run up to pardon the left-hander, which he goes around. Midway towards the S's. He's going through the S's as James Dockery leaves the line in his Subaru, but meanwhile Steve comes through the S's and getting a bit wide there, and I think he's clipped the barriers, in fact, and the red flag is out. He's continuing up the hill very slowly, but the red flags have gone out. The runs have been stopped, so a little bit unfortunate there for Steve, just catching the barriers, and the marshal's already out to clear up any debris left behind. Steve just cruises up to the finish line for unrepresentative time, really, 72.10. James Dockery has been will be held on his run. James in the number 21 car, the Subaru Impreza, that car which has been in the family from new. It's 19 years old and it's done over 200,000 miles. James uses it as his daily driver. Just goes to show that you don't have to rob a bank to be able to compete in certain forms of motorsport, including hill climbing. So you see him there, stopped on the hill after the red flags came out. So James Dockery then returns down the hill the wrong way after his run was stopped, following Steve Perry's minor mishap. He'll come back down the hill, and once he's clear we'll be able to continue with the action. He turns off into the paddock and we'll obviously get a rerun. Meanwhile, on the start line now, it's number 22 Alan McFarlane in the Porsche Cayman S with a 3.4 litre engine powering that Porsche. It was a Porsche day yesterday here, a lot of Porsches out and some lovely cars, RSRs and all the rest of it to celebrate the German mark that has been around, well, since the 1930s. The 911, of course, their iconic car that was first built in 1964, but this is one of the more recent cars, the Cayman, which is the sort of hard-top car that was built after the Boxster. And I think we are about ready to get the runs back underway. So it is, as I say, Alan McFarlane in that Porsche Cayman S who sits on the start line waiting for the go, which he gets now. Head off the line under the bridge. Already travelling at 60 miles an hour when he comes underneath the bridge, goes on up to the Torres. Short sprint up to the left-hand hairpin at Pardon. Andrew Meredith, meanwhile, getting off the line in the Porsche 924, but Alan McFarlane at number 22 going through the S's. We see the 924 of Andrew Meredith, car number 23, the front engine Porsche, of course, 2-litre engine. And the bonnet, he rounds the Torres. We get a time for Alan McFarlane, 56.07 seconds at the time, as Andrew Meredith heads up towards the S's now in the 924. And it is then a rerun. In fact, Tim Stokes is out there at the moment, has gone off the line, car number 24 in the Suzuki Swift Sport, 1600cc. Saloon, he rounds a Torres in that car as James Dockery lines up for his rerun in the Subaru STI Impreza. But Stokes around Pardon. Yes, goes the little Saloon as James Dockery comes to the Torres in the the Subaru that's done 200,000 miles plus in its 19 years so far. Still going strong by the looks of it as he goes around Pardon. On On the line is 25, Rob Guthridge in his Mazda MX-5, but we continue to watch James putting in what looks like quite a good time so far as he goes around the semicircle, and over the line he goes to, he got a 50.31. Rob Guthridge gets away in his Mazda MX-5, the 1800cc version of that sports car. The bridge goes the red Mazda. And the left-hander that brings him into the fairly tight hairpin. Powers his way out of there and heads on up to the left-hand hairpin. Ian Beattie just going over the line in the Toyota as around Pardon goes. Rob Guthridge in the Mazda. He heads up through the S's as the Toyota MR2 of Ian Beattie, car number 26, goes round Torres now. He takes the second of those hairpins as we look for a time for Rob Guthridge in the MX-5, and it's a 65.40 in fact for Rob as Ian goes through the S's, and then we see Ian beat Adrian Burrows, number 29, in the Ford Puma, the 1700cc version of the Ford Puma, car that's developed a little bit of a classic status now. Not too many of the 1700s around. A lot of the Pumas were 1400s, and quite a popular machine now a few years after they ended production of it. Adrian there in that silver one, coming up to the S's, and then it's just a semicircle before he crosses the finish line. There we see Simon Firth Bernard, number 30, in his Sunbeam Alpine Series 3 with the 1725cc engine under the bonnet. That 1960 sports car. Heads around Pardon. On up the hill he goes, while Andrew Wilcox gets off the line in his Caterham Super 7, number 31. And there is Andrew under the bridge and on up towards Torres. 1600cc engine powering the Caterham Super 7, the car that's of course based on the original Lotus 7, one of Colin Chapman's early brainchildren, should we say, I don't know. And then a later version, the Westfield version of David Keeling, gets off the line when we continue to follow Andrew Wilcox up the hill. Well on his way, and just in the background there we can see David Keeling in his Westfield 7. That's a 2-litre version of that very similar chassis, of course. He goes around Pardon on the line at the moment. Matthew Gregory getting away in his Honda CRX. We're watching David Keeling there coming up towards through the S's. On he goes towards the finish line. We see the Honda CRX now going around the Torres. Not that many of these Hondas around these days, but Matthew competed in the 1600cc version of the car. And as he rounded Pardon, he was 0.3 of a second quicker than the Westfield, in fact. Renison has just gone off the line in the 1800 Audi TT. The Honda CRX setting a good pace up the hill, front-wheel drive saloon car. And we see the Audi TT 1.8 of Paul Renison, car number 36, on his first run of the afternoon. He's, as you might expect, about a second and a half quicker through Pardon than Paul Renison was. See one of the BMW Minis, Mini Cooper S, 1600cc car of Christie, car number 37. is rounding that hairpin now. And he heads out of pardon. Good start for Sean West, meanwhile, in the Mazda MX-5, car number 39. There he is. Very quick off the line. And in fact just loses a little bit of time to Chris ahead of him as they come round Torres, but picks it back up again as they go through pardon. Another Japanese sports car leaving the line now, and it's the mid-engine car, the Toyota MR2 of Zoe Shearman, car number 40, compared across the front engine Mazda MX-5 ahead of her. So he comes around Torres hairpin. She rounds pardon. Mike Tower is on the line at the moment, car number 42 in the BMW Z4. So he continues her run then. And there we see Mike Tower, the 2-litre version of the BMW sports car, going off the line. And a sedate one it looked, but as he goes under line, just 42 miles an hour under the bridge rather. He is cleanly around the hairpin. Another 2-litre machine leaving the line. This time now it's Mini Cooper S of George Tower, as Mike Tower continues on his way up. There is the Mini of George Tower. So BMW sports car followed by what is effectively a BMW Saloon these days. We're going to be moving to single seaters in just a moment as we watch the Mini coming around pardon and heads away through the S's. Meanwhile, Ian Stallard in his Lotus 6061, 1600cc Ford motor in the back, is on his way up and quite rapidly around pardon, and then through midway up to the S's goes the single seater. Semicircle, and it looks like that could be quite a good time for Ian Stallard. We'll see when he crosses the line. And meanwhile, we see the Lotus Elan of Steve Millward, the 51, a 50.96 in fact for Ian Stallard. This is Steve Millward then going around pardon in the Lotus Elan, another of Colin Chapman's brainchilds, of course. So, is it brainchild? I'll get back to you on that one. And there's another Lotus on the line, in fact, and in fact heading up the hill, I should say, David Giddon in Lotus 23, sports racing car, number 53. He goes around pardon in that bright yellow machine. Goes towards us on the camera in the S's. Sarah Thorne there, car number 54, the Lotus single-seater, the Type 2022, again 1600 cc's. And she is on her way into pardon now. Following her up will be Malcolm Thorne, in fact, in the Formula 2 Lotus, the Lotus 35, but this is Sarah coming towards the end of her run up the hill. And we switch to Malcolm Thorne in that Formula 2 machine from the 1960s, the Lotus 35. very equally matched to Sarah. In fact, they were both doing the same speed under the bridge, and he drops a couple of tenths, I should say, by the time they got to Torres. Anthony Shute goes up in his Lotus 69 Formula Ford 1600. I think he's managed to confuse the speed trap at the bridge, which says he was doing 159 miles an hour. I don't think he quite managed to get to that speed by the time he got there. But Keith Wilfoot in the Lotus 23B is the sports racing car is on the hill. So we just lose that picture for a moment, but back we are with Keith, car number 58. As I say, the sports racer, the 23B. Brand 7-1, by the way, for Anthony Shute is a good time. Quickest time I think we've seen yet this afternoon. He goes up towards the finish line. Matty then 9 from the lead up to 69. Single seater. Going well up around Barton as Paul Matty, the sponsor of the Paul Matty Lotus Speed Championship, heads away in a similar Lotus 69 F3. June some good times again as then we switch to the British Racing Green version of Paul, car number 60. Paul through the S's safely. Hampton, number 61, is in the Lotus 2-litre Formula 2 car, which competed in fact, started life in hands of Peter Wardle in the Formula Atlantic series, and then ran in South Africa, came back to the UK in 2000 and runs now in historic Formula 2 class. Took the class record here at Prescott in 2017 with a 44.68 second run. Meanwhile, we switched to a Lotus sports car. It is the Elan now of Richard Swindle, number 62. Elan, which ran the twin cam engine under the bonnet. The next single seater is a Lotus 61 again by Buffy, this time in the Lotus 61. Car number 63. He goes around Barden. Behind him should be Karen Buffy in another Lotus Elan. As we see Clive going through the upper parts of the hill. Just see the Elan down below him. There is the number 64 machine of Karen Buffy with the 1700cc engine under the bonnet. So she goes around to Pardon. Line through the S's as car number 66 is Kendrick Lewis in the Lotus 61 MX with the iconic JPS Lotus colour scheme going around Pardon. Stallard, another Lotus 61, this one in the gold leaf colour scheme that 750 Jeffrey Stallard, gold leaf colours that one of the early sponsorship liveries to appear in Formula 1. Shane Millward goes off the line in here Lotus Elan S3 cc powered sports car. Blue machine of Jane Noble, then coming into the Tories and out. A 53.03 for Jeffrey Stallard, incidentally, in the 61. As Jane Millwood round Barden and Graham Miller gets off the line in his 2-litre Ford Escort Mark II. And we see car number 70. So we are on to with Graham, we move on then to the Classic Mark Speed Challenge. This and one of the classes that runs on a handicap basis, so scratch times not necessarily determining the honours in the class. Noor Ali there in his Mazda MX-5, also running the Classic Marks category. That's a 1600cc MX-5. Number 72 is Robbie Birrell in the Lotus Exige V6 Cup car with the 3.5-litre engine. Robbie Birrell then up to the S's, on to the finish line. Through semicircle, and a time of 49.98, so a good time, under 50 seconds, always a good time. On the line now is Phil Ludbrook in the Honda S2000. He's got a power to weight handicap, which is what the Classic Marks use, of 91%. So what it means is that the scratch time is multiplied by 0.91 in order to determine his handicap time, and therefore his finishing position in class. My mental arithmetic isn't quite up to working out the handicap standings. We'll see what we can give you though a little bit later on. Andy Johnson on the line, rather rounding a Torres in his Mazda MX-5. Once again, it's one of the 1.6 versions. Andy, who's from Nailsea in Bristol, absolutely standard car that he's run for 3 seasons now. Did 2 seasons in the HSA Championship, has now moved to Classic Marks. It's actually a Japanese import, so known out there as a Mazda Unos. John Austin following up the hill in his Porsche 986S with a 3.2-litre engine. And there is the Boxster of John Austin. So the grey Porsche goes on his way. And then we see Alan Voice in the Triumph GT6, a hardtop sports car, similar in appearance to a Spitfire, but with the hardtop and 6-cylinder engine under the bonnet. Alan Voice, as they drive in that one. And the Porsche 968 there of Jonathan Martin from Dusseldorf in North Wales. It's a 968 Club Sport with a 4-cylinder 3-litre engine. It's a factory original lightweight specification, and he drives this car to every event. It started life in Japan. It's left-hand drive. He has owned it for 6 years, bought it when he was living in the Netherlands, in fact. But this is his first season hill climbing, on his second event with the car. But he did win his class at Harewood in Yorkshire back on the 6th of June. Meanwhile, Jamie Fisher-Pearson is in the midget Road Legal 1500cc midget, car number 79. He's managed a third in class at Wiscombe in this road going car. Behind him it is the Triumph Spitfire number 80 of Nigel Walton. The Spitfire in sort of Gulf oils livery, and from that we move to the E-Type car number 83. That's Paul Slade in the E-Type with a 3.8 litre engine powering that Jaguar sports car. And then it is the Blackpool machine, the TBR Tuscan, the 4.6 litre version of the Tuscan, car number 84, driven by Rob Pack. So plenty of grunt under the bonnet with that V8 engine as he goes around Pardon. Continues to power his way up the hill through the S's as Robert Orford gets underway in car 85, the MGB Roadstar. There is the yellow machine with the black hardtop, 1950cc engine, and in fact slightly marginally quicker off the line than the TBR Tuscan for Robert. He rounds Pardon, and on the hill that probably one of the most successful British sports cars in terms of numbers built, certainly one of the most successful British sports cars ever. Trevor McMaster now we see, number 87 in his Ginetta G32, which was the first production line Ginetta. It has a Zetec 2 litre engine in the back, Quaife straight cut close ratio box. It was both hill climbed and autocrossed in the 80s and 90s. And Trevor's had it for the last 3 years. He took the class at Wiscombe Park in mid-May in this Ginetta. Another MX-5. In fact, we've seen this car go up the hill once already, but now it's Emma Ali who is driving it, with Noor Ali previously, the 1600 Mazda MX-5. Charlie Delahunty makes his way up the hill in his MX-5 1600cc car, and we'll be moving to the 500 Speed Championship next, or is scheduled to. Let's see if we can update you on a few class positions, albeit without adjustments for handicap. So it's in the New Barn Interclub Championship. Quickest time up the hill was James Dockery with a 53.08. That's fine. Sorry, we'll have to try that again. It was James Dockery, but it was a 50.31 that he set up the hill, which is just 0.08 of a second over his handicap time to put him in the lead, just under a second over his handicap time. In second place is 36 Paul Renison, and in a third place with 1.44 seconds over his handicap time, it's number 36 Christie. But meanwhile, Charles Reynolds is on his way up the hill in the iconic Cooper Mark 7 with the 1100cc V-twin engine in the back of that diminutive single-seater. A little bit twitchy there out of Ettores. So it gets it all straightened up and hence up to Pardon. As Michael Wood makes his way up in the Iota CB2 500cc car. These are the cars that were campaigned in the old 500cc Formula 3 championship back in the 50s with the likes of Stirling Moss behind the wheel. Michael Wood driving this Iota up, and a bit of a lock up there into Pardon, but he just about manages to get around the hairpin as John Dent goes off the line in his 500cc Cooper Mark 8. Really do love seeing these old Formula 3 cars as they were in their day. And the 92 machine of John Dent then around Ettores. As Michael Wood records a 60.09 in the Iota, John Dent is around Pardon. And on intermediate times running a little bit quicker, whilst 93 Andy Renault gets off the line in his Mark 5 Cooper, again the 500cc, I would assume a Jap V-twin in the back of it. They really do make the most wonderful noise. 57.13 then for John Dent in the Mark 8 Cooper. We see Andy Reynard continuing on his way. Meanwhile, Jan Nietz in the Starride Mark III. He's heading up towards Ettores now with the classic hanging over the side stance of a 500 racer. And the hairpin he goes, all up the hill. Very little ahead of the driver in these 500s. Really trying there, Jan, in the Starride as he goes on up towards the finish line. Off the line now comes Alistair Dent, car number 95 in the Hornet F3 machine. Slightly higher up stance to this car than some of the others. Gets it safely around that first hairpin. Continues on his way. His intermediate time's a little bit quicker than Randy Reynolds, ahead of him in the first half of the hill at least. Richard Roberts on the line there in the Mark IV Cooper, car number 96. Waits for the all clear to get away. Yeah, again it's a 500cc machine. Richard Roberts then going into Ettores. Puff the smoke as he puts the blower down out the hairpin, and on the overrun on the gear changes you see the bit of oily smoke coming out. Nothing to worry about. Around semicircle onto the finish line, Well, up to start comes the front engine machine, number 97. It's still running the 500 Owners Association Speed Championship. And this is Timothy Densham from Porsche in the WHD Jap. This car began life with a Triumph GP engine, but it's using a Jap pre-war Speedway engine now to power it. And it was actually built by John Densham and then run by Julian Sutton and Chris Bird. Back in 1960 it began its competition life in the hands of Julian Sutton, and had it for some 36 years. Chris Bird had it for about 23 years, and now it is Timothy Densham who's competing in it at the moment. Very few of the front-engined 500cc machines around, but this is one example. Just looking back at some more times, Paul Matty Lotus Speed Championship, quickest first run there was number 56, Anthony Shute. Off the line, meanwhile, goes Anthony Brown, car 100 in the Audi TT 1800cc version, running in the Sunrise Speed Championship. So just coming back then to the times in the Paul Matty Lotus Speed Championship, it is 56 Anthony Shute who set the quickest time in his Lotus 69 Formula Ford car, ahead of 61 David Hampton in the Formula 2 Formula Atlantic Lotus, number 61, and in third place 66 is Kendrick Lewis in the Lotus 61 Mark 10. Bruce Atkinson there in the Alfa Romeo GT Junior, heading into a Torres, car number 101. And another of our Welsh competitors, Phil James, off the line, car 103 in the Porsche Cayman, 3.4 litre machine. Comes through the left-hander that brings him up to Ettores. And pardon goes the Cayman. And the Boxster there, the 981 Boxster with a 2.7 litre engine. Number 104 is the car of Howard Cressy, who is rounding the Torres there. Phil James does a 53.48 as he crosses the line. Howard Cressy negotiates pardon. On up the hill then goes the red Boxster. Off the line and towards Ettores comes car number 105, Ross McDonald in the 3.3 litre 911 Carrera, one of the earlier ones, the air-cooled 911s. 911 been around since 1964. He built the 1 millionth 911, in fact, in 2017, but not too much in common with the early ones, the later ones, other than the basic engine layout. Or the car layout with the rear engine, the back axle, water cooled these days, but these earlier machines air cooled, of course, as is the 3.6 litre car, the Carrera 2 Cup car of Mal Spear, car 106, which is right there. Livery. 74 for Ross McDonald. Wait. And through the S's safely. As off the line has gone 109 Paul Howell. The RSR 3.8 litre machine. The S's then comes that yellow 911. Off the line goes 110 John Armory, the first of the runners in the HSA Championship, car 110. There he is. 1600cc version of the Mini Cooper S has a 47.41 recorded by Paul Howells at the 911 RSR. So good time there for that Porsche. We watched John Armory braking for the left-hander at Pardon. Up the hill. So he comes through the S's. He followed up the hill by single-seater. There it is, the Force HC of Luke Trotman, car 112, 998cc behind the driver in this single-seater machine. But very rapid start, despite its very small engine size, 1 litre, as I say, a 57.25 for the Mini Cooper S of John Armory, car 110. As Luke Trotman continues on his way. Still in the HSA Championship, it's sports car next up, and there it is, the Westfield SE 2.1 litre machine, car 114 John Bradshaw driving this Lotus 7 derivative, as it were, a 50.64 for Luke Trotman. As the Westfield of John Bradshaw continues his way up. And it's once again back to single seaters. It's Carol Nichols, car 116 in the Nike Mark IV. 1600cc car, this one. She goes around Pardon and continues on her way. Off the line has gone Martin Ellis in the 1760cc Ford Escort Mark II. The Escort around Pardon, the Fisher Fury of Tim Monk has just gone off the line, car 119, 1300cc Fisher Fury. Tim Monk then around the Torres. As the Escort of Martin Ellis records a 53.58, Tim Monk continues on up towards the S's. There he is going through there. And we cut back to Rob Crushall in the Mini Cooper S 1600, another of the various BMW Minis that we have here at Prescott this weekend. Car 120. Road registered, as you can see. Rob comes through the S's as Lawrence Marks leaves the line. There is Lawrence in the Van Diemen RF84 Formula Ford car, 1600cc, of course, the Formula Ford Kent engined machinery. 121 there, Lawrence Marks. away goes Ward Lewis. Car number 122 in the Roadrunner SR2 1795 cc's. Just looking back at the Classic Marks category. Now this is run on Handicap. As I say, their actual time is multiplied by a percentage to determine their handicap time. I can only at the moment, I'm afraid, give you scratch time, so I can't tell you who has done what. I can tell you that yesterday it was Graham Miller, car number 70, who won the class, and he has gone significantly quicker, certainly a few tenths quicker than his time yesterday. On scratch, it's Robbie Birrell who's done the quickest time, 49.98, a little under a second quicker than Graham Miller with a 50.90, and third quickest was Rob Pack with a 53.53. But it was Graham Miller who finished first on Handicap yesterday. And second on Handicap yesterday, I think, was Jamie Fisher-Pearson on number 79. Meanwhile, we see William Adams, car 140, going up the hill there in the OMS with 1100cc engine, and then we switch to the Austin Cooper Mark III of Ian Hunt, car 141. With the 1293cc engine under the bonnet, and sounding like it's got some straight cut gears in the gearbox as well. As Ian goes on up the hill in that Mini, we see Stephen Akers in the 1600cc Lotus Elan. Elan, and now of course in amongst the BARC Connaught Speed Championship contenders. Stephen there going around Barton. Up to the S's, as off the line heads Chris Edwards from Shirk in North Wales in the Mazda 323. 1800cc turbocharged 16-valve engine, four-wheel drive, and 20 years Chris has owned and modified this car. It's now producing some 500 brake horsepower and weighs just 1,040 kilograms. Unfortunately, broke I think it was a broken drive shaft yesterday on his first run, but managed to get a time in on his second run, having repaired the car. It's the fastest saloon up Loughton Park headline, Shropshire, back in 2019. And he goes over the line to set an impressive 47.95 second time. 145, Nigel Trundle there in the Abarth 500, 1400cc machine. And from the little Abarth 500 we switch to the Morgan +8 3.9 litre V8 engined car of Robert Toon, car number 146. He goes up through the S's. Next up, it is Neil Bateman in the Ford Fiesta, 2-litre Ford Fiesta, looking very, very standard and deceptively quiet off the line, because he has been putting in some respectable times, in fact, in this Fiesta. He makes his way around Barden, then on up into the S's in the front-wheel drive Ford Saloon. And there is John McQuillan in his 1293cc Mini Cooper, car 150. Not sure that was the line he wanted to take through Itois, but no harm done anyway. Wipers going as he comes around Pardon. the line there in his Renault Clio 172 Cup car. It's Taras Anderson, car 151. And looking quite rapid there under the bridge and on up towards Victoria's, as John McQuillan in the Mini Cooper records a 61 second. Exactly, a little bit of just the slightest of lock-up, so Taras there as he comes around. Pardon. Coming up next, we should have the Lotus Elan there, the +2 of Paul Boscott, car 154. The Elan continuing to make his way up the hill. Boscott, as I say, driving that car, 154. Car 155 is the Renault Clio, 2-litre Renault Clio of Peter Siddle. .78 the time recorded by the Elan of Paul Boscott for 154. Siddle, meanwhile, heading on that blue and white Clio. Off the line now goes car 156, the car of Mike Stark, the Alfa Romeo GTA with a 3.8 litre V6 engine and a quafe sequential gearbox under the bonnet. Holds a class record at Harewood in this Alfa Romeo. From Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire. Martin Roberts in his Lotus Elise on the hill now, 1800cc machine. Try and find some more class times for you. As away goes the single-seater 159 Rob Clark in the Empire Evo, just 998 cc's. But that certainly propels the lightweight single-seater pretty well as he goes around Pardon already and goes under the bridge at 75 miles an hour. Meanwhile, I can tell you that in the 500 Owners Association Speed Championship, these are scratch times, as Clive Worcester is out there now in the Radical SR4 with the 1600cc engine. Sports racer, going around the Tories there, but it was 95 Alistair Dent who set the fastest scratch time in the 500 overall. And let's just find the right page for you, and I can tell you Alistair in the Hornet F3 quickest. John Dent, number 92, second with a 57.13, so 0.8 of a second between them. As we see the Peugeot 106 of Johnny Toon, car 161 there, 1600cc silver Saloon. And John Dent, as I say, 92, second quickest in the Cooper Mark 8, and third quickest was Charles Reynolds, number 90 in the Mark 7 Cooper. As we continue to watch Johnny Toon making his way up the hill in that Peugeot Saloon. And next up we'll see the BMW Mini Cooper S 1600 of Christopher Morgan, 810. And we have a car stopped on the hill by the looks of it, getting back underway now. That was Christopher Morgan who stopped momentarily, but it's enough to bring the red flags out, unfortunately. Well, Adele Hunt had started her run, but I think she'll be turned round and have another run in her Austin Mini Cooper S Mark III. 3cc machine as Christopher Morgan continues to make his way up the hill and over the line. So we move on to the times from the Sunrise Speed Championship, and quickest there was in fact Phil James, 103 in the Porsche Cayman with a 53.48. Second was 101 Bruce Atkinson in the Alfa Romeo GT Junior with a 55.36, and third, number 100, Anthony Brown in the Audi TT with a 58.34. In the Porsche Club Championship, quickest time 109 is Paul Howells in the 911 RSR with a 47.41. Second, 106 Mal Spear in the 964 Carrera Cup car, his time 51.52. And third quickest was 105 Ross McDonald in the 911 Carrera with a time of 52.74. On then to the HSA Championship, quickest is 114 John Bradshaw in the Westfield SE with a 46.70. Second quickest 112 Luke Trotman in the Force HC with a 50.64. Third quickest 122 Ward Lewis in the Roadrunner SR2, and Ward's time of 51.17 as engines get fired up once again to get the live action back underway. And it's Mark Maynard, car number 28 in the 998cc Hillman Imp. Most Imps, as he really throws it around the Tories there, but most Imps were 875 out of the factory, but they did make 998 sporting versions, the Imp Sport, and I think it was the Sunbeam Stiletto was also 998 originally. Meanwhile, Tom Mogirossi in the Renault Twingo 133 heads up the hill, car number 170. He's the first of the runners in the Bugatti Owners Club Handicap category. Tom there rounding pardon in that Renault Twingo. And Adele Hunt having been red flag. First run. 171 Peter Knight's is an interesting machine. It's might look about like a Metro 6R4, albeit with slightly less aerodynamic aids than the original 6R4s. But behind the driver is a Mitsubishi 3000 GT twin turbo engine. It uses Ford Sierra XR4i transmission and Subaru Impreza suspension. That's Peter Knight's from Warwick in that, well, how do we describe it? Car number 171. It is a Rover Mitsu Metro 6R4R, allegedly. And quite an impressive 51.66 second time there. Behind him it's Graham Ramsey in the Seat Cupra. Car number 173, 2-litre machine. Rather more standard than the Rover ahead of him. And away goes Andrew Till in the Ford Fiesta ST line with the 998 turbocharged engine under the bonnet. As the Fiesta goes around to Torres. Up through the S's goes the Fiesta, and off the line has gone 176. Nick Wilson there in the Alfa Romeo Mito 1368cc, standard looking Alfa Romeo, but pushing it hard there as he goes around Torres. Meanwhile is Stephen Moore in the Mitsubishi Evo 6, the 2.3-litre turbocharged engine, 4-wheel drive, and lots of driver aids like active yaw control on that Mitsubishi Evo 6. Looking very planted as it goes up through the S's as well. Is Roland Hamby in the OMS, 100cc single-seater. No wings are spoiling the profile of this little single-seater. Woodcock gets underway in the Westfield Megabusa 1300cc Suzuki Hayabusa motorcycle engine, powering the 180 machine. So, a lot of interest at one time in motorcycle powered machinery. Seems to have waned just a little bit, it appears to me anyway, over recent years, but certainly it can be very, very effective. These high revving motorcycle engines under the bonnet of a lightweight car. He's around Torres goes at 182. That's Michael Thompson in the Honda S2000, 2-litre engine. Through the S's and on up to the finish line. Then goes the Honda S2000, a very respectable time of 50.25 seconds. But once again, I remind you, this is a handicap category. $183 on the line there is Charles Bolton in his MGB 1840cc machine. Goes under the bridge and really pushing on there through the left-hander. And the hairpin, then comes this MG. And as he continues on his way towards the finish line, we have on the hill now car 184 John Cavendish in the MGB GTS. It's a Sebring replica with a 1950cc supercharged engine and a 5-speed close ratio box and a limited slip diff in the rear axle as well. So some significant moderate alterations done to this car. So it might be a replica in the sense of the bodywork. I'm not sure that mechanically it's that similar to the old Sebring race cars. Richard Durant is in the Triumph TR4A, which is built to fast road specification. On the hill there, number 187, Austin Weltman in the Lotus Elise S1, so once again 1800cc engine. Going off the line now, 188 is Alison Ema in the Austin Healey Sprite. Few less cc's. It's a 1380cc machine, the Frog Eye Sprite. Frog Eye, I think, for fairly obvious reasons. It goes around Torres. Pardon. The next car up doesn't sound like any other Triumph TR4A that you've heard. There's a good reason for that. It's because it's fitted with a Rover 3.5 V8 engine and an LT77 gearbox, but it's David Roberts in this highly modified Triumph TR4A, David from Stratford-on-Avon. So that should be pushing out a bit more torque, I should think, than the standard Triumph would do. Well, it wouldn't be a Prescott weekend if we didn't see at least one Bugatti in action. I'm delighted to say there's one going up the hill now. It's 191 Roy Tubby in his 1500cc Bugatti T13, running in the handicap category. And really flamboyant there around the appropriate named Torres up to Harden, not holding back at all. There we see the MGA number 192, the car of Ted Elwes. Under CC it says TBA because I think, if I remember rightly, they were 1500cc or 1600 twin cam, the two engines they put in the MGA. Tim Jeffrey, number 202 there in the Renault Alpine GTA Turbo 2.5 litre. It's the same specification as the Euro Cup cars that used to race on the Formula 1 race car back in the late 80s. First time out for the car since August 2019, in fact. But Tim was Bugatti Owners Club Victor Ludorum in 2010. Ian Wilson there in the Formula Renault 2000 machine. Renault used to have two categories, a bit like Formula Ford, because they had the 1600s and then they had the Formula Renault 2000s with the slicks and wings, and this is the latter category, of course. Ian Wilson driving that car. Car 203 on the line, that's Peter Tatham in the OMS. The OMS 25 there, 1300cc machine. And, as you can see, slicks and wings, a little bit twitchy coming in and out of Ettores. Pushing really hard there up out of podium on up into the S's. As he goes over the line, car 204 is Kerry Wayne in the Magnum 843, an 1137cc engine powering that re-winged single-seater. Kerry Wayne driving it. Kerry from Coventry. Originally a Formula 3 car from 1984, but it's now got a Honda Blackbird bike engine and gearbox fitted to it, and over the line goes Kerry. So his most recent success was surviving COVID, so I'm delighted to hear it. 206, slightly older vintage, is the Gemini Mark II 1098cc car of David Cranage. David making his way up through the S's. And 880 Ben Woodcock out there in the Westfield Megabusa, that, as I mentioned before, Suzuki Hayabusa engined machine. Ben Woodcock driving at this time, as David Cranage records a 64.41. And we see the Sebring MGB GT 884 of David Slade. Rapidly around Pardon there, as next we pick up David West in the Peugeot 106 GTI 1760cc machine, rather newer than the MGB, of course. Here's car 210. Pick up car 211. It's Graham Franklin from Milton Keynes in his Westfield, fitted with a K-Series engine, putting out some 220 horsepower. New for this year, a Simpson exhaust and a lightweight flywheel. Second in class at Chelsea Walsh earlier this month. We're now in amongst the Midland Speed Championship contenders, and 212 is Keith Adams in his Westfield SE. Keith comes from near Milton Keynes. Vauxhall 2-litre engine, tuned to 225 brake horsepower, and first time out for Keith since 2019. He had some class successes before that though. Four is David Birch in Westfield Sports 2000. On the hill there we have him, 215 Martin Harvey, again a Westfield, this one an SCIW, again a 2-litre motor. Coming under the bridge there we have John Sharples 216 in the Mac No. 1 Motorsports Raw XR, a 1-litre engine. I'm particularly familiar with, I'm afraid, and I haven't got a commentator sheet to tell you much more about it, but obviously quite a rapid machine. The Radical SR1 1340cc machine car number 217 is the car of David Bickley. David Bickley goes through the S's. Off the start line has gone Stuart Bickley, 218, in the Jedi with the GSXR motorbike engine in the back. You can hear that motorbike engine screaming all the way up the hill. Pushing for a good time, Stuart Bickley. Let's see what he can register. Well, it's a 44.85 as Richard Jenkinson continues on his race car, 219 in the Renault Clio 172 Cup car. So Richard Jenkinson in the 172 Cup car. Behind him will be a 197 Cup car, Renault Clio 220 of Jeff Hedges. There is Jeff in the white machine, 220. We see the 222 machine, Craig Spooner in the Westfield SCIW, the 1798cc machine, that sports car. His way up the hill. Mini 223 of Julian Harbour, Mini Clubman. Mini Clubman was originally, I think, a 1000cc machine when they were produced originally, but this is a 1340cc version. It goes around Pardon, up the hill. I'll come back to some more times in just a moment because someone's very thoughtfully just handed me the times on Handicap for the classic marks, so I'll give you those shortly, but let's continue to watch the Mini on its way up the hill. Julian Harbour there on the line now. James Wilson in the Formula Renault 2000 machine once again, car number 900. off the line has gone Nick West in the Peugeot 106 GTI, car 910. But we're going straight into the second time runs, which is good to see, but I'll try and give you some times, cover some of the classes that we haven't already covered anyway. But first I'll give you these classic marks, handicap times, which have just been handed on a piece of paper. And it's first on handicap in the classic marks category is number 70, Graham Miller in the Ford Escort Mark II, with his time on handicap being 48.61 seconds. Behind him, 2/10 behind on handicap with a 48.81 is 85 Rob Orford in the MGB Roadster, and then another 8/10 back, it's 79 Jamie Fisher-Pearson in the MG Midget, car number 79 as I say, and 72 Robbie Birrell fourth with a handicap time in the Lotus Exige V6 Cup car of 50.40. And completing the top five is number 73 Phil Ludbrook in the Honda S2000 with a 51.39. We've got the first couple of cars on the way in the second runs. Ferry in the Mazda MX-5 is going up the hill, and there we see James Dockery in that 200,000 mile Subaru STI, not showing its mileage at all as he goes around Torres. As these early runners continue to make their way up, we watch the Impreza there again. I'll give you the remaining positions, and we've got the Bugatti Owners Club members handicap, and the times on handicap for the Saloons see car 171 in the lead after the first run, as we see the Audi TT, even Porsche Cayman, even number 22 of Alan McFarlane, struggling with multitasking here, but it is the Porsche. So on handicap is 171 Peter Knights in that Rover Mitsu Metro 6R4 with a 51.66. Second is number 28 Mark Maynard in the Hillman Imp, Mark with a 53.98, and in third place 174 Andrew Till in the Ford Fiesta ST line with a 55.87. Those are the times on handicap. Meanwhile, we have on the hill at the moment the Suzuki Swift of Tim Stokes, number 24, along with 23 Andrew Meredith in the Porsche 924. Sports cars in the British, the Bugatti Owners Club members handicap, it's 182 Michael Thompson who leads the way on handicap in the Honda S2000 with a 50.25, and comfortably ahead, in fact, because 202 in second place. Tim Jeffrey in the Renault Alpine is a 53.74, so some 3.5 seconds back. And third place for 183 Charles Bolton, and Charles in the MGB is on 57.22 as we see Rob Guttridge going up the hill in the Mazda MX-5. And in the Bugatti Owners Club members handicap racing cars, then on handicap it's led after the first runs by 204 Kerry Wayne in the Magnum 843 on 47.66, and that is 0.34 under handicap. James Wilson 900 is in second place in the Renault, the Formula Renault 2000 machine, 2.12 seconds over handicap. And in third place it's 203 Pete Tatham in the OMS, 2.28 seconds over handicap. So as we watch the 1.7 Ford making its way up the hill. That's the Puma 1.7 litre number 28 of Adrian Burrows. We also have number 30 Simon Firth Bernard in his Sunbeam Alpine Series 3 on his second run. Just one more class to look at, and then we can once again concentrate on the action on hill. And in the Midland Speed Championship, quickest up the hill was 218 Stuart Bickley in the Jedi GSXR with a 44.85. Second, 217 David Bickley in the Radical SR1 with a 49.95, and in third place is 215 Martin Harvey in the Westfield SE1W. So that's the situation after the first run, as we watch the car of Andrew Wilcox, the Caterham Super 7, going around Pardon, car number 31. Through the S's then goes the Caterham. 32 is David Keeling in the Westfield in the Westfield 7 2-litre machine. Honda CRX of Matthew Gregory continuing his way up the hill, car number 33. As about to go off the line is the Audi TT of Paul Renison, car number 36. Car 37 then onto the line, but we watch the Audi TT of Paul Renison. C37 Chris D in his BMW Mini Cooper S, the 1600cc version. It's still James Dockery, number 21, who leads the way on handicap after his second run, as we watch Sean West rounding the Tories in the number 39 Mazda MX-5 2-litre machine. Behind James Dockery at the moment it is 36 Paul Renison in the Audi TT. These are on handicap, as I say. So is Shearman in the Toyota MR2, car number 40 then in our view at the moment. In third place in the New Barn Championship at the moment it is 26 Ian Beattie in the Toyota MR2. There the BMW Z4 2-litre machine of Mike Tower, car number 42. Well, after Mike Tower, we see George Tower in the Mini Cooper, 2-litre version this time of the Mini Cooper S, the BMW Mini Cooper S. Number 43 there. So we're on now to the runners in the Paul Matty Lotus Speed Championship, and the first of those is number 50 Ian Stallard in the Lotus 61. Quickest on the first runs was number 56, and that's Anthony Shute in the Lotus 69 Formula Ford car. Here is Steve Millward in the Lotus Elan S3. Ian Stallard, fourth quickest in the first runs, needs to make a couple of seconds to challenge Anthony Shute. Steve Millward continues on up the hill in that blue Elan. We see the sports racing car, the Lotus 23 of David Giddon, number 53. Ian Stallard unable to improve on his first run time on this second run, in fact dropping a couple of seconds. Unfortunately for him, as Sarah Thorne, car number 54, makes the way up the hill in the Lotus Type 2022. Steve Millward finding a couple of seconds of 55.70 for the 51 car compared to 57.78 on the first run. And away now goes Malcolm Thorne, number 55 in the Lotus 35 F2 car. Was in 6th spot after the first runs. David Giddon making up a little bit of time, does a 51.03 and moves up to 5th place in the standings. But still quite a few more cars in the Paul Matty Speed Championship to go up the hill. As Malcolm Thorne continues his way on up in that Formula 2 car, we see Anthony Shute in the Formula Ford machine, the Lotus 69 car number 56. Anthony quickest on the opening run. Sarah Thorne has found something approaching 4 seconds on the second run and moves up to 2nd place at the moment, at least in the number 54 car with a 48.86. Malcolm Thorne also finding time, nearly 2 seconds, there's a 50.04 and moves up to 3rd place in the number 55 machine. There we see the Lotus 23B of Keith Wilford, car number 58. His way. Things changing fairly rapidly at the moment in this Paul Matty Championship. And Anthony Shute, in fact, regains the lead, or improves his lead, I should say. Takes nearly a second off his first run time, does a 47.79, and leads the class by very nearly a second. As June Matty goes on in the Lotus 69 F3 car. June was a couple of tenths quicker than Paul Matty on the first runs. As we hear Paul Matty getting away off the line, we'll continue to follow June up the hill. Over the line then goes June. Wait for the time to appear. And she has moved up to 3rd place with a 49.26, so finding something over 4 seconds on her first run. What can Paul Matty do? He's next up the hill. And it's no time showing for Paul Matty, in fact. David Hampton is on the hill now in the Formula 2 Formula Atlantic car number 61. In fact, we do get a time up now for Paul Matty of 51.03, so again taking a couple of seconds off his earlier time, but not moving up the order significantly. What about number 61, David Hampton? We wait for his time to appear. In fact, I think that's David just going over the line now. And he moves up to second place overall with a 48.05, so just missing out on fastest time in class by a couple of tenths compared to Anthony Schute's 47.79. There we see Richard Swindle in the Lotus Elan S3 around the Torres yellow machine. Yes, then goes Richard as we switch to Clive Buffy, number 63 in the Lotus 61 in those gold leaf colours. Clive's time on his first run was a 56.44. Karen Buffy is on her way now in the Lotus Elan. There is Karen in that Elan. Classic Lotus Elan livery as well, reflecting the gold leaf livery. 53.68 then for Clive Buffy. Has moved him up the order a little bit. He finds nearly 3 seconds in fact. We see the Lotus 61 of Kendrick Lewis, car number 66, getting out onto the dirt a bit there as he comes out of Torres. On up through the S's, that will have cost him a little bit of time, I should think. Kendrick, who is currently in 6th place with a 50.59 after his first run. And Kendrick, despite that trip onto the dirt, has taken the class lead by 0.05 of a second, because Anthony Shute was leading on a 47.79, car number 56. Car number 66, Kendrick Lewis, has just done a 47.74. Well, just a momentary delay now whilst we get the dirt that Kendrick managed to spread swept off the track. The marshals continuing to do their sterling job. Thanks once again to all of them. And it's all done by the looks of it. The red flag is coming in. We'll be able to get straight back underway. On the line, number 750, Jeffrey Stallard in the Lotus 61. And away he goes. 1600cc machine. And Torres manages to keep off the grass, unlike our current class leader, Kendrick Lewis. Heads around Pardon. Jane Millward then comes under the bridge in the Lotus Elan S3, the last of our runners in the Paul Matty Lotus Speed Championship for their second run. Jeffrey Steller's previous time of 53.03 improves that with a 49.88, and in doing so moves up the order a little bit into 6th position, 2 places ahead of Ian Stallard. On the hill now is a car number 70, Graham Miller, in his Mark II Ford Escort, the first of the classic Marks cars. A 57.28 for Jane Millward, so she finds about a second and a half between run 1 and run 2. So car 72 is Robbie Birrell in the Lotus 6 V6 Cup car. Now, after the first runs, it was on handicap Graham Miller who led this class. He's already gone up the hill, of course. In second place on handicap was Jamie Fisher-Pearson, and in third place on handicap, Noor Ali. Well, in fact, Graham Miller, who was, as I say, leading the class, has improved his time with a 50.24 compared to his 50.90. Robbie Birrell has also found over a second. But as I say, this all depends on handicaps as to where they finish. Robbie the quickest so far with a 48.62. But these are scratch times that I'm giving you now, not handicap times. Now Ali, also quicker, 56.51 compared to his 58.29. And Noah was in third place, I believe. In fact, sorry, I was looking at some details from yesterday. I do apologise. It was Graham Miller, though. I was correct in saying that on handicap he was leading from 85. Rob Orford. Of course, yet to go up the hill. Going up the hill at the moment, it is John Austin in the Porsche 986. John, who was in 8th place on handicap after the first runs. Andy Johnson, the Mazda MX-5, running just ahead of him. Down in 12th position after his first run. Here we see Alan Voice in the Triumph GT6, car number 76. So the top three on handicap, just to recap. After the first run, it was Graham Miller, who led from Rob Orford, 85, and then 79, Jamie Fisher-Pearson. Fourth was Robbie Birrell, number 72. Fifth, Phil Ledbrook. Jonathan Martin out there now, just getting off the line in his Porsche 968 and up to the line. Watch the Porsche 968 for just a moment. To watch Jonathan Martin then. Jamie Fisher-Pearson, who was in third place on handicap after the first runs, comes through Ettores, car number 79. Most of the runners managing to improve their times, at least a little on these second runs. I say Graham Miller, who was leading, has taken a little over 6/10, with about 2/3 of a second off his first run time, as we see Jamie Fisher-Pearson coming up. Might have a little bit of sweeping needed before we continue these runs. But Jamie Fisher-Pearson goes over the line. And Jamie unable to improve on his first run time, so on handicap I think it's fair to say he's not going to get past Graham Miller, or indeed Rob Orford ahead of him, number 85. Rob still to have his run. Sat on the line at the moment, 83, is Paul Slade in the Jaguar E-Type, who was on handicap, was in 11th place after the first time runs. So I think it's Nigel Walton in the Triumph Spitfire is getting sent back down that hill, presumably going to have a rerun. He was lying in 10th place after first runs. Well, given that Graham Miller found 2/3 of a second improvement on his second run, and on handicap he was 2/10 ahead of Rob Orford, I would say Rob needs to find about 7 or 8/10 of a second on his second run if he's to take the lead, but that's very, it's pretty much a guesstimate, to be honest. We'll wait and see a bit later on. The E-Type now on his way up the hill then in the hands of Paul Slade. Paul's scratch time was 58.46 on the first run. As we see the TVR Tuscan. TVR Tuscans were built for a one-way race championship, one model race championship originally. Rob Pack driving this car number 84. Powering his way up the hill. So the man lying in second place after the first runs on handicap, Rob Orford, then heads into Ettores in his MGB Roadster car number 85. He gets around, pardon. Definitely, if he is to take the class, he needs to improve his time, and well, we'll just have to see how much he can improve it by. 87, Trevor McMaster heads off the line. Trevor in the Ginetta G32. Is Rob Orford's time? He has taken about a second off his previous time. He did a 54.33, he did a 53.24. I think that might, and it's only my estimate, that might just be enough for him to pip Robbie Birrell, but until we get the official confirmed handicap times, we cannot say for certain. 774 is Charlie Delahunty, who, despite the name Charlie, is a female. Charlie 774 going up the hill now then in the Mazda MX-5. Emma Ali also on the hill. Another car to get a rerun is car 80, but we see Charlie Delahunty at the moment. The 774 machine, and there is the 80 machine on its rerun. That's the car of Nigel Walton, the 1500cc Triumph Spitfire. will be moving on to the 500 Owners Association Speed Championship in just a moment. But just the last couple of cars going up the hill now in the Classic Mark Speed Challenge. Emma Ali improves her time from a 65.03 to a 63.42, and Charlie Delahunty also going from a 66.21 to a 64.40. And Nigel Walton finding quite a bit of time, going from a 64.91 to 62.59. There is Charles Reynolds in the Mark 7 Cooper, the 1100cc machine. Charles lying in third place after the first run with a 58.06 compared to Alistair Dent's 56.33. Michael Wood then goes up in the Iota CB2 machine, the 500cc machine, car number 91. Charles Reynolds records a 54.49. He takes 3.5 seconds off his first run time, as Michael Wood continues on his way in the Iota. And then we see 93 Andy Rayner in the Cooper 500 Mark 5. Number 93 there, Andy Rayner. Andy, who was in 5th place after his first run. Michael Wood does a 58.48, so again improving on his first run time of 60.09, but remaining in 5th place. See Andy Rayner then going up through the S's, and then we switch to John Dent coming under the bridge in that Mark 8 Cooper, car number 92. John was in 3rd place with a 57.13 after his first run. The time to beat is a 54.49. So Andy Rayner with a 58.49 misses out on 5th place by 100th of a second, because Michael Wood has just done a 58.48, and whereas he was 900ths behind Andy Rayner after the first run, he is now 100th ahead of him after the second run. 94 there is Jan Nietzsche in the Star Ride Mark 3. Jan was in 4th place after the first run. We wait to see a time for John Dent. It's a 66.46, so obviously problems for John on that run. He dropped very nearly 10 seconds. Alistair Dent goes off the line, lying in 2nd place after the first run, a 56.33, so he has to find very nearly 2 seconds to take the lead back from Charles Reynolds, who's moved from 1st to 3rd place, or from 3rd to 1st place I should say. Alistair Dent then continuing in that Hornet F3 machine through the S, is really throwing it through there in his efforts to take the class lead away from Charles Reynolds. Round semicircle into the finish line, and what can he do? It's a 55.44. He improves his time, but not enough. Charles Reynolds continues to be quickest after run 2 with the 54.49, so by 0.95 of a second it is currently Charles Reynolds who leads the way. We're waiting for Richard Robarts to come back after having stalled on the start line, car 96, so hopefully they can get him restarted and back underway. Richard Roberts out of the car at the moment. I think they're just trying to sort out what they can do with that machine. Richard, who was lying in 7th place after the first runs with a 61.69. Just 2 cars left to run, or to take their second runs in this 500 Owners Association Speed Championship. That's Richard Roberts and then 97 Timothy Densham. Just to recap that top 3 as it stands at the moment is number 90 Charles Reynolds, who leads the way on 54.49. Second is number 95 Alistair Dent on 55.44, and in third place Jan Nietz in car number 94 with a 57.03, and then Timothy Densham pulls up to the line as they try and sort out Richard Roberts' car, and unfortunately Timothy's also lost the motor on the start line. So Timothy Densham also heading back away from the start line. So a little bit of a pause, I suspect, now, whilst we get those 2 cars sorted. Next up will be the contenders in the Sunrise Speed Championship. Bill James currently heading the way in that one in the Porsche Cayman. Well, let's, whilst we're waiting for some more action, very quickly recap what we've seen so far, the classes, the championships that have completed their runs, and the New Barn Interclub Speed Championships on with adjustments for handicap. It is number 21, James Dockery, who finishes in first place. All these results provisional, of course, at this stage, but it's James Dockery, number 21 in the Subaru STI. Second, it's number 36, Paul Renison in the Audi TT. Third, number 26, Ian Beattie. Ian in the Toyota MR2. In fourth place, 37, Chris D in the Mini Cooper S. And in fifth place, 29, is Adrian Burrows in the Ford Puma. Well, we've got our 500 runner, or one of them at least, fired back up now. And that is car number 96, Richard Roberts in the Mark IV Cooper, who makes his way off the line then and up the hill. So Richard, as I say, did a 61.69 on his first one. That's the time he's looking to improve on as he comes around the Torres. S's is Richard Robertson in that Mark IV Cooper. And off the line goes the first of our Sunrise Speed Championship contenders. That's number 100, Anthony Brown in the Audi TT. So Richard Robarts does improve his time, but not his position. Unfortunately for him, he did a 61.69 on the first run, 59.40 on the second run. So let's look at the Sunrise Championship. And Anthony Brown was in third place with a 58.34. After his first run, he'd have to find something like 5 seconds to take the lead in his class. As Bruce Atkinson gets away in the Alfa Romeo GT Junior 101, Bruce needs to find very nearly 2 seconds if he is to pip Phil James, who currently leads the class. Anthony Brown does improve his time, but not by enough. He remains in third place with his 57.97 on that second run, compared to a 58.34 on the first run. Meanwhile, Bruce Atkinson makes his way around Pardon and on up. And we see the Porsche Cayman of class leader Phil James. He did a 53.48 for him up the hill. Phil, who was competing with the Porsche Invitation class yesterday, now running today in this Sunrise Speed Championship category. He goes round Pardon. And Bruce Atkinson does a 53.85, so he has improved significantly, but still nearly 4/10 slower than Phil James's first run. So Phil could actually back off a bit, but he doesn't know that, of course, as he goes up the hill. And we see the first of the Porsche Club contenders, 104 Howard Cressy in the 981 Porsche Boxster 2.7 litre version, as Phil James does improve his time, a 52.15 compared to his first run 53.48, so a convincing class win for the Porsche Cayman. Howard Cressy was in fourth place after the first run for the Porsche Club. Ross McDonald goes under the bridge in the Carrera 3.3. Around the Tories. Off the line goes 106 Mel Spear in that 911, the 964 Carrera 2 Cup car. Mel, who was in second place after the first run. So 3/10 Howard Cressy is able to take off his first run time, remains in fourth place. So class leader Paul Howells then off the line, 109 in the 911 RSR, and really pressing on up to odds the Tories. McDonald also knocks half a second off his first run time, but still remains in third place in the class. Mel Spear knocks half a second off his time, but remains second in class. So Paul Howells has this one pretty much sewn up, but can he improve on his first run time? As we move on to the HSA Championship, and the first of the runners there is John Armory in the Mini Cooper S. Paul Howells with 45.96 takes another second and a half off his first run time, so a convincing class win for him. In the HSA Championship, it's John Bradshaw who led after the first run from Luke Trotman, who's on the hill now. John Armory was down in something like 7th position, but Luke Trotman in that Force HC single-seater with a 50.64 on his first run was second in class. John Bradshaw did a 46.70 as he gets off the line for his second run. 57.38 for John Armory, so he's just slightly slower than his first run, about a tenth of a second or so. What can Luke Trotman, 112, do? We're watching the class leader, John Bradshaw. And Luke Trotman does a 47.90, so he's found some speed, but again is still well, just over a second, 1.2 seconds behind John Bradshaw's first run time. Carol Nichols is on the hill in the ninth, Mark 4, as John Bradshaw comes up to the finish line. And there's a 45.11, so John Bradshaw finding another second and a half on that second run. Martin Ellis away in the Ford Escort Mark II. Martin was in fourth place after the first runs. .663 for Carol. Nichols has moved her up into sixth spot with a number of runners, of course, still to go. Tim Monk out there now in the Fisher Fury, got 119. Tim was in fifth place after the first runs. So Martin Ellis completes his run and stays in fourth place, although he finds very nearly 2 seconds, it still leaves him in fourth spot. Off the line goes Rob Cushel in the Mini Cooper S, 120. Tim Monk looking to better 54.40 and does with a 52.49, but it doesn't move him at all. In fact, he remains in fifth place. Cushel then in the Mini Cooper S, looking to better his time of I think 56.91. Meanwhile, we see Lawrence Marks in the Van Diemen RF84 Formula Ford car, got 121. Looking to do something better than 57.61 on this run. Lewis, the man who was in third place with a 51.17, needs to find any, over 3 seconds in fact, if he is to move up the order at all. Car 122, it's a Roadrunner SR2. Lawrence Marks finding over 3 seconds with a 54.19. So you're 52.49 for Lawrence, which is 2 seconds better, and that puts him, keeps him in fifth place. Ward Lewis does a 50.08, again finding over a second on his first run time, but not moving up. He stays in third place. Christopher Morgan out there in the 1600cc BMW Mini Cooper S, car 810. We will be moving on in a moment to the BARC Connaught Speed Championship. Waiting for a time for Christopher Morgan. 68.07 on his first run. As the first of the BARC Connaught contenders, William Adams, car 140, gets on his way in the OMS 700cc single-seater. And Christopher Morgan finding very nearly 9 seconds, 59.34, so a big improvement from first to second run for the Mini driver. In the BARC Connaught Championship, it was Rob Clark who led the way in the Empire Evo after the first runs from 165 Worcester and 143 Chris Edwards. Ian Hunt in the Austin Mini Cooper S Mark III 1293cc machine, car 141, heading then up towards the Torres. Ian some way down the order after his first run. Off the line goes Stephen Akers in the Lotus Saloon, car 142. So red flags come out, unfortunately, once again, and Stephen Akers' run is halted. And it appears, I think, that 141 Ian Hunt might have come into minor contact with the barriers. I'm not sure, but we will wait and see. There's he was not obviously no significant damage because he continued on his way, but there's a little bit of cleaning up and sweeping for the marshals to do before we can get the runs back underway. So let's go back and recap on the Paul Matty Lotus Speed Championship. And it was a class win by 0.05 of a second from number 66, Kendrick Lewis. Kendrick in the Lotus 61 MX. Second was 56 Anthony Shute in the Lotus 69 Formula Ford car. Third was 61 David Hampton in the Lotus Formula 2 and Formula Atlantic car. In fourth place it was number 54 Sarah Thorne. Sarah in the Lotus Type 2022, and in fifth place number 59 June Matty in the Lotus 69 Formula 3 machine. So that was the top 5 in that category. Classic marks, well, we're just going on scratch times. I think there might have been a change on the adjusted times after handicap as well, but on scratch times, quickest was Robbie Birrell, number 72, with a 48.62. Robbie in the Lotus Exige V6 Cup car second. Number 70, Graham Miller in the Ford Escort Mark II. Third, number 87, Trevor McMaster in the Ginetta G32. Then it was 84, Rob Pack in the TVR Tuscan. And fifth quickest on scratch was 85, Robert Alford in the MGB Roadster. But I reiterate, those are scratch times and they have to be adjusted for the handicap. Right, we go back now though to some live action. It's Chris Edwards in the Mercedes 323 GTX who is next up the hill. Chris, who was in third place after the first runs with a 47.95, so significantly less than a second off the fastest runner. Just a little bit smoky there as he comes into Pardon. That four-wheel drive 323 with the turbocharged engine under the bonnet going well. Now heavily modified and producing something approaching 500 brake horsepower apparently. So just the one time in so far, not really a representative time. As over the line goes Chris Edwards with a 47.81. So he's found a couple of tenths on his first run time, but still remains once again in third place. Nigel Trundle there in the Fiat Abarth 1368cc machine car 145. Nigel, who was just inside the top 10 with a 54.92 from his first run. Meanwhile we see Stephen Akers 142 in the Lotus at Lamb on his rerun. 54.06, 6.85 of a second off his time. As the Morgan +8 of Robert Toon makes his way around Pardon. And on up a 57.19 for Stephen Akers. Again, finding very nearly a second from his first run time. Neil Bateman in the Ford Fiesta, car number 148. Looking to better a 55.80 on the first run. 50.40 for Robert Toon. He picks up 0.4 of a second, but remains in 4th spot. As Neil Bateman really pushing that Fiesta through the S's and on up. John McQuillan there in the 1293cc Mini Cooper. Continues his way up. Anderson in the Renault Clio 172 Cup car makes his way off the line. John McQuillan picking up 0.3 from his first run with a 60.70 on run 2. Thomas Anderson, number 151, looking to better a time of 52.88 seconds. Needs to find about half a second to move ahead of the car ahead of him, which is 156 Mike Stark, who's yet to take his second run. The Clio, though, continuing its way up through the S's, as off the line goes the Lotus Saloon +2 of Paul Boscott, car 154. So there's nothing like consistency. Taurus Anderson, 151, did a 52.88 on the first run, a 52.81 on the second run. So just 700ths of a second between his first and second run times. Paul Boscott, meanwhile, still on his second run in the Lotus Elan. Paul Siddle in the Renault Clio, car 155. 55.17 on his opening run. Boscott managed to find very nearly 2 seconds on his second run with a 60.80. There we see Mike Stark in the much modified Alfa Romeo 156 GTA, 3.8 litre engine, was in 6th place with a 52.41 after his first run up the hill. Martin Roberts is on his way in the Lotus Elise, Mike Stark, and still looking to find a little bit more time and move himself up the order in the Alfa Romeo. There is Martin Roberts in that Elise. 51.39 for Mike Stark. It is an improvement, but make a difference. Unfortunately, he's found a whole second from his first run, but that doesn't move him up the order. He remains in 6th spot. Graham Holston at 158 in the Caterham 7. Looking to better 54.97 and only has to find a couple of tenths to move himself up one place in the order. Let's pick up a couple more championship points if he can do that. Holstock and through the S's and to semi, as we see the class lead after run 1:1:59, Rob Clark in the Emperor Evo 00, but he had just 0.3 of a second advantage over the car that's going to follow him up the hill, Clive Worcester, so he needs really to give himself a bit more of a buffer as he goes on that left-hander very neatly through there. As then we see Clive Worcester in the Radical SR4, who has to find at least 0.3 of a second if he's to take the class win, depending on Rob Clark, who does a 45.58. So Rob has found another second and a half, very nearly at least, and that means that Clive Worcester has to find the best part of 2 seconds on this second run of his in the Radical if he is to take the class lead. At the moment it is still 1:59 Rob Clark with that 45.58 compared to his first run 47.17. There is Clive Worcester, and Clive finds a second or so there, I think, with a 46.27. So he's found 1.2 seconds, but because Rob found so much time in his second run, Rob Clark holds on to the lead by just over half a second from Clive Worcester. Johnny Toon on the hill now in the Renault 106, so the Peugeot 106. 161, he did a 54.78, and he could do himself some good if he could find about a second. He can find a couple of extra places. Hanbury there, 840 in the OMS. Car number 840, as I say. Roland Hanbury, he is in 5th place at the moment, and would need to find a little over half a second to move up to 4th ahead of Robert Toon. Hanbury there, really pressing on in that OMS, just 1100cc, the single seater. And it is a 49.33, which moves him up one place into 4th spot ahead of Robert Toon. So 840 Roland Hanbury now in 4th place in the class. Mark Maynard going up the hill in the Hillman Imp. 998cc Hillman Imp, car number 28. So we are now, of course, into the Bugatti Owners Club members handicap, or the Saloons. Mark Maynard, the first of those, going up the hill. Second up the hill is the Renault Twingo 133 of Tom Mogirossi, and Peter Knight's then in the Rover Mitsu Metro is third up the hill. So it was Peter Knight's on handicap who led after the first runs from 28 Mark Maynard and 174 Andrew Till. Tom Mogirossi has found a couple of about a second and a half on that second run. He improves from a 59.44 to a 57.88. Mark Maynard isn't able to improve. He did a 53.98 on the first run, a 54.42 on the second run. Peter Knight has just knocked 600ths off his first run time. He goes from 51.66 to 51.60. Means on handicap just 300ths of a second separating Mark Maynard and Andrew Till. Mark Maynard currently in second place, Till in third. 57.88, as I said a little earlier, I think, for Tom Margirossi. Graham Ramsey is out there in the Seat Cooper, as is Andrew Till in the Ford Fiesta, currently in third place on handicap. Graham Ramsey managing to improve his time, a 60.99 on run 2 compared to a 62.85 on the first run, but remains in sixth place in class. Wilson going off the line in the Alfa Romeo Mito, that 1400cc machine. So as it stands at the moment, it is still Peter Knights who leads on handicap, then car 171 from 174 Andrew Till and 28 Mark Maynard. As the Mitsubishi Evo 6 of Stephen Moore makes his way up the hill at 177. We're moving on to the sports cars in the Bugatti Owners Club handicap shortly. Wilson does a 59.98 compared to his 62.12 on the first run. So a good second run for the Alfa Romeo Mito. A little bit of time there. First of our sports cars out there now, the Graham Woodcock 180 in the Westfield Megabusa. As I keep saying, that is Suzuki Hayabusa engine. So also on the hill now is 182 Michael Thompson, who led on handicap after the first run in his Honda S2000. There is Michael Thompson. Pardon. Graham Woodcock with a 52.14 finds an extra second or so with 53.65, a second and a half in fact, between first and second runs. That moves him right up the order into fifth place, in fact. Charles Bolton out there in the 1840cc MGB. Car 183, a 49.42 for Michael Thompson. So again, he finds a little over half a second. He did a 50.25 on the first run, consolidates his class lead with that. John Cavendish out there in the MGB GTS 1950cc machine, car 184. John, who was just inside the top 10 after the first runs. Charles Bolton with a 56.75 on run 2 and now in second place in the class. Knocked half a second off his first run. As John Cavendish comes near the end of his second run, Richard Durant heads out on his run in the Triumph TR4A car number 185. With 2.5 seconds gained over his first run time there for John Cavendish, 184, he moves into fourth place. He did a 60.69 first run, second runs of 58.10, so with the handicap adjustments for handicap, currently, as I say, line in fourth place. Austin Waltman there, 187 in the Lotus Elise. Series 1 machine, 1800cc. Weltman's time was a 58.30, I think, on the first run. There's an EMA out there now in the Frog-Eyed Sprite. So did a 62.84 first time out. Austin Weltman jumps up the order into 5th place, 187 car, having improved from a 58.30 to a 56.94. And we see David Roberts in his TR4A, but with the Rover 3.5 litre engine under the bonnet. David looking to improve on a 62.77 on his first run. 2 seconds improvement for Alison Ema from a 62.84 to a 60.80 as away goes the Bugatti of Roy Tubby. Roy did a 79.18 on his first run. What he can do on this run. Elwes in the MGA 192, looking to prove on his 58.37 from the previous run. Roy Tubby finds a couple of seconds on his run, does a 77.10 in fact on the 191 machine, as away goes 202 Tim Jeffrey in the Renault Alpine. And Tim was well, he needs to find, I think, around about a second, a little under a second on this run to move to the top of the class. He's currently in 3rd place after the first runs. For that second, as I say, to take him to the top of the standings in the sports cars for the Bugatti Owners Club. On the line there is Ian Wilson, first of the race cars in the Formula Renault 2000 machine, car number 200. Still waiting for Tim Jeffrey's time to come up, and he's done it. He's done a 52.67, just over a second quicker than his first run, which was a 53.74, and he moves to the top of the standings in the on handicap in the sports category. So we focus now on the single seaters. Ian Wilson 200, who was lying in 5th place on handicap with a 54.11 after the first run. Coming towards the end of his run as we see David Cranage in the Gemini Mark II car 206, who was lying in 4th place on handicap after run 1. Gemini coming around Pardon there. So Ian Wilson's 51.18, leaving him in 5th place. Off the line now goes 2:03. Pete Tatham, who was lying in third place on Handicap after run 1, who took fastest time of the day, if my memory serves me correctly, yesterday. In the OMS, 1300cc single-seater, as David Cranage does a 65.28, so slower than his first run. He remains in 4th place on the Handicap. Tatham coming towards the end of his run, goes over the line and has done a 40.11. He's found another 10th, but it moves him up not to first but to 2nd place in the standings, behind Kerry Wayne, ahead of James Wilson, both of whom still have to run. Ben Woodcock is well, in fact Ben is on the line, but Kerry Wayne is on the hill. Kerry Wayne 2:04 then, coming towards the end of his run. And in fact he is slower than his first run of 48.20 compared to 47.66 on his first run. He still maintains the class lead. A couple of the two-driver sports cars on track at the moment. 880 Ben Woodcock, who was lying in 5th place, in fact remains in 5th place after his run. 884 is David Slade, who is looking to better a 59.66. West in the Peugeot 106. So we see the Midland Speed Championship contenders starting to make their way up the hill. 210 David West, who was in 5th place after run 1, needs to find about 0.3 of a second and finds a little bit more than that. There's a 53.08 is followed by a 52.46, which moves him up just into 4th place. Graham Franklin 211 is looking to improve on a 58.22 on his first run. Franklin coming towards the end of his run. Does a 57.83, so he's found 0.4 or so. A little bit more than that, 211, from 58.71 to 57.83, Graham Franklin. Keith Adams, meanwhile, out there in the Westfield SEI 2 litre. We see David Birch in his Westfield Sports 2000. Yes. Westfield's very popular in the Midlands Speed Championship. Keith Adams improves his time, going from a 53.72 to a 51.35. Martin Harvey there, another of the Westfields, the Westfield SEIW 2 litre machine. Number 215. Birch 214. What can he do? He's looking to better 52.75, I think. And he does a 51.85. He is now in 5th position. Found 9/10 of a second between runs 1 and 2. As we see 216 John Sharples there in the Magnum 1 Motorsports WOR XR 1 litre machine. A little bit of a mouthful. Martin Harvey does a 49.86 and is now in 2nd place. In fact, by well, just 900ths of a second ahead of 217 David Bickley, who just goes off the line in the Radical SR, or SR1, I should say. So can Bickley pull back that time? Needs to find a 10th of a second would do it. But back in 2nd place, he needs to find very nearly 5 seconds to take the lead from Stuart Bickley, who gets off the line on his 2nd run. Well, 49.46 for David Bickley moves him back into 2nd place, compared to the 49.86 of Martin Harvey, who slips back to 3rd place once again now in the 215 machine. So it's Stuart Bickley from David Bickley from Martin Harvey, the top 3 at the moment. Then we see Richard Jenkinson in the Renault Clio 172 Cup car, car number 291. Richard did a 50. Just trying to. So Richard did a 58.22. Sorry, for his first run. 220 is Jeff Hedges. Jeff in the Renault Clio 197 Cup car, and the time Jeff is looking to improve on is a 55.29. So unfortunately Richard Jenkins is not able to improve on his 58.22 in run 1. He's done a 58.65 in run 2. Here we see Craig Spooner in his Westfield SCIW 1798 car 222, looking to better 53.39 on run 1. Harbour gets off the line in his Mini Clubman 1340cc machine 223, and his time on run 1 was a 56.49. In fact, it's car 900 that we see off the line, and 900 is the Renault from the Renault 2000 machine of James Wilson. So Stuart Bickley then, despite not being able to improve his time on his second run. It was a 44.85 in the first run, 45.31 on the second. Takes the Midland Speed Championship class from David Bickley, 217, with 215 Martin Harvey in third place. So James Wilson, who currently lies third in the Bugatti Owners Club Members Handicap racing cars, goes over the line now and does a 44.75, and on handicap moves into second place, ahead of behind by the 204 Kerry Wayne and 203 Pete Tatham, who still has another run to go. Does he, or is this a Tour d'Honneur? I'm not sure. So for the second day running, it is Pete Tatham who takes fastest time of the day with a 45.32 second run on his second run. Second quickest was 900 James Wilson with a 49.50, and in third place Stuart Bickley with a 50.83, car 218. Car 143 Chris Edwards did a 52 second run, and car 217 David Bickley does a 53.03. So let's just quickly go back through the classes which we haven't given you yet, which I think starts with the BARC Connaught Speed Championship, and that was a class win then in the BARC Connaught Speed Championship for 159 Rob Clark in the Empire Evo 00. Second was 160 Clive Worcester in the Radical SR4. Third, 143 Chris Edwards in the Mazda 323 GTX. In fourth place, it was 840 Roland Hambry in the OMS, and as the lap of honour continues then, or the Tour d'Honneur for Pete Tatham continues. Thanks for watching. Let's just quickly finish off these last few results. Robert Toone in fifth place, 146 in the Morgan Plus 8. We just have then the Bart Members Handicap Saloon. Saloons 171 Pete Knights takes the honours there in the Rover Mitsu Metro. 174 Andrew Till, second in the Fiesta ST line, and third was 28 Mark Maynard in the Hillman Imp. In the sports cars, Tim Jeffrey 202 comes out on top in the Renault Alpine. 182 Michael Thompson, second in the Honda S2000, and 884 David Slade in third place in the MGB GT Sebring. In the racing category, it was 204 Kerry Wayne who comes out on top in the Magnum 843. 900 James Wilson, second in the Formula Renault FR 2000, and Pete Tatham on handicap finishes in third place despite setting fastest time of the day. And Pete then 203 is in the OMS 25. And then finally, the Midland Speed Championship. 218 Stuart Bickley takes the honours in that class, driving the Jedi GSXR. 217 David Bickley in the Radical SR1 is second. Third is 215 Martin Harvey in the Westfield SEIW. Fourth is 212 Keith Adams in the Westfield SEI. And in fifth place, 214 David Birch in the Westfield Sports 2000S. So that's just about it then from Prescott for today. The weather has stayed kind to us. Thank you to everyone who has followed us today. Thank you to everyone who has, all the essential workers who have supported us all through the last 18 months, and our thoughts go out to everyone who has been affected by this pandemic. Hopefully things are on the mend and we will be able to see even more spectators back here through the season. I'll be back here in July for the British Hill Climb Championships. In the meantime, happy Father's Day once again to all the dads out there. Thanks too much from me, Peter Hughes, on behalf of the Bugatti Owners Club, and have a very good evening.